What's up, peeps? My name is Seth. This is the first devlog for Wiz Kid. It's an action roguelike I'm solo developing. It's inspired heavily off of my favorite games like Nuclear Throne, Binding of Isaac, Enter the Gungeon, and also Magic the Gathering. That's the gimmick here, is that there's deck building mechanics, and you're seeing a little bit of that right now. We got some fireball cards, we got energy cards, people who played Magic, Hearthstone, etc. should be kind of familiar with some of those concepts, but we're not going to dive too deeply into that right now. We're just going to get into the first mission, which is streamlining the workflow, starting with IntelliSense. So IntelliSense is code completion. It's natively supported in Visual Studio. I don't like Visual Studio, however, Visual Studio Code is my preferred. It does not support IntelliSense natively with the Unity documentation, but thankfully there's an official article out there to guide you through the process. It took me about 10 minutes. It starts with installing .NET, making sure that's up to date, making sure you have a C# extension in Visual Studio Code installed, making sure your Unity editor has Visual Studio Code as its default code editor, and after all that, you just have to change one setting and you're ready to roll. Once IntelliSense was running as it should, I went ahead and started refactoring some of my code that I was neglecting, particularly with procedural generation. I had a rough draft up until this point, implementing the Drunkard Walk algorithm. Basically, how you can imagine that is taking a black canvas, which is how I did it. I took a black texture, and I put like 6 drunken walkers in the middle of it, and I just had them move around randomly, placing a white pixel wherever they go. Following this, once the texture was done, I went ahead, read back through it, and added art assets that I could compare against the texture map. So the white pixels would be the floors in this case. They don't have any colliders. The black is basically ceiling, I guess, like just the canopy. If I was doing a forest theme, just stuff that's inaccessible, visually interesting stuff. The gray pixels that I follow up with, they trace the edge of this white amalgamation here. And those are where all the colliders would be. So that once you put the player right in the middle of it, or whatever enemies, they'll just make sure they're staying within the confined area. The primary benefit of the Drunkard Walk there are actually several benefits actually of the Drunkard Walk algorithm, is that you are left with a region that is interesting, no area in which is inaccessible to the player or anybody else, and you don't have to spend your time designing these interactions. You can literally just plop whatever you want in there, which doesn't work for, say, Binding of Isaac, where even though the levels themselves, the floors themselves are randomly generated, each one of those cells that they put in there, they have to be designed to give the intended interaction. And that's more of a meticulous experience, a meticulous way of going about game design, where I feel like Nuclear Throne is more arcadey, and you're just kind of thrown into it, and you have to figure out how to deal with the situation that you're given, rather than these more complicated, like Souls-like interactions where everything is coordinated to make you suffer. Alright, so we've covered just about everything I wanted to for the devlog, so I can talk more about the game. This Wiz Kid's a working title. I had the idea in my head about making something based in just this concept exactly. A card mechanic / deck building game that's also a roguelike, because I just think it has potential. And since having that idea, I decided to start drafting it up in Google Docs. I have a bunch of documents just lying in my Google Drive that I can share with y'all to read and stuff. It's a Bible per se, so pretty much everything that's been implemented so far is to that vision. Not quite as much as specific implementation, because I'm not that I can't forecast that far, but yeah, I'm super stoked to be doing it. Super stoked to be doing devlogs. I'm gonna go on Twitch. I want to stream development sessions and stuff when I have the time. I do work a full-time job, however, so on days where I can't commit an entire like 3-hour session of developing a feature or whatnot, I'd love to just get on for about an hour, half an hour to play like a couple runs of Nuclear Throne, Binding of Isaac, or Enter the Gungeon, because those are the games that I heavily draw from when it comes to doing stuff like this. I also like to try to tackle Rogue because there's something about that ASCII aesthetic that I really like, and just like that just general feeling. I think I'm going to draw from that for just simplicity's sake, as you can see with some of the art. Just see if I can take inspiration from that geometry that it has. Like the it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. I really like it though. But yeah, Twitch, streaming development, streaming games, absolutely, because I would have more available time to do that between shifts and stuff. YouTube, gonna get one out once a week, hopefully more. If not, there are absolutely going to be shorts covering concepts that I'm just researching in case I'm at a standstill for how to implement something. I find that communicating stuff like this is a better way for me to understand it. So expect like tutorials, some life hacks as far as game development goes. Expect a little bit of overview / coverage on just algorithms I find interesting. I've been researching heavily into Nuclear Throne's difficulty system and how they go about spawning enemies as well, because they publish these articles and stuff. So I do want to take a little bit of inspiration from them as well, even though I'm dipping quite heavily into that. But things of that nature, I definitely want to do. As far as the future plans for the game, Steam, most likely. Probably not early access, probably not mod support, because I can't really think of a system that's general and robust enough to accommodate some of the interactions I want the cards to have without just arbitrary code execution. But I don't know, I'll look into it. I don't plan on doing multiplayer of any kind because I just want this to be a single player game for the most part. As far as cost, probably $5, honestly, once it's done. I do want to get it out and shipped within a year. And depending on the features depend on the coverage I can make up until that point. It might be a bit ambitious, but I would rather release just a tight product more than anything, and that's about it. Just tight, very fun, very replayable, and rewarding. And that's the mission. And by that year point, at least have a base game, and that's about it, guys. It's gonna be a base game. DLC, I'd love to if it's well received and people still want to keep playing and they want to see more, because I honestly have so many ideas for it. It just depends on if I can get the help or if I have the time to invest in it, between my job and I would say like a 2-year time scale, honestly. But that's about all from me. Expect my Twitch handles, perhaps a Patreon if I get that set up, down below in the description. I'll also be posting links to some of the resources that I've been referencing with the devlog coverage that I have so far, and expect the Bible of the game to be down there too. Hopefully y'all can get as excited about this as I am, because I think it's just going to be something really cool, especially if it's executed well. All right, that's all for me. Thanks, guys.